Evening, everybody, and welcome to the Winter Meetings. I am your host, Seven. I will be bringing in my cohorts in just a moment. We do have a special guest today. First of all, I did want to say that the Winter Meetings is sponsored by Gunslinger Soap, handmade soaps and beard products made without all the junk to pamper your skin. You can go to their website, gunslingersoap.com, and sign up to get 15% off your first order and always free shipping. That's gunslingersoap.com. I do use their products myself, so I do speak from experience when I say they're amazing. Let me bring in my co-host with the most stories about old guys, Craig Newton. And then the guy with a better pitching ERA in the major leagues than Albert Pujols, former Yankees reliever Stefan Weaver. And we've also got, as a special guest this evening, the president of Pinfall himself, Josie, is with us to talk some baseball. There's been a lot going on this week, guys, and I wanted to open up one of the hottest stories of the week is allegations that Freddie Freeman was not shown the final offer from the Atlanta Braves before the inevitable situation where they picked up a first baseman in a trade, and Freeman eventually signed with the Dodgers. So, Josie, I will go ahead and kick this to you first since you are a guest. Casey Close has vehemently denied the allegations that were originally tweeted out. Actually, hold on. I have a picture. This was we originally tweeted I originally shared this on the Winter Meetings Facebook page on the day that this story broke. Doug Gottlieb said that Casey Close never told Freddie Freeman about the Braves' final offer. That is why Freeman fired him. He found out in Atlanta this last weekend, he was there with facing the Braves with the Dodgers. It isn't that rare to have happen in Major League Baseball, but it happened. Close knew Freddie would have taken the Atlanta deal. The implications being here that this was financially related on behalf of Close and the Excel Sports Agency getting more money out of the Dodger deal than they would have out of the Atlanta deal. Josie, what are your thoughts? Do you think this is true? What do you think is going to happen?
First off, has it come out? Was the Braves offer close?
He would have made more from the Braves offer than he is from the Dodgers because of taxes. It was that close, from what I understand.
Okay. Second, Freeman doesn't seem like a guy. He seems like a pretty upstanding guy. The cheers that he got in Atlanta this week, the reception he got in Atlanta this week, made me really see like he's one of those few guys in sports, like he's a good guy. And so I don't see him firing his agent for no reason. And the fact that this came out right after the firing and lent to the fact that he was just in Atlanta. He does have friends there that are going to shoot straight with him. I would say, yes, it's true. And this man needs to be used as an example like the Astros were in the sign stealing. I get that it's not rare in the NBA or MLB. It probably happens in every sport. Like agents, as much as an agent is looking out for their talent, they're also looking out for their bottom line. And unfortunately, sometimes greed's going to get in the way. I don't understand if he would have made more money with Atlanta. Why? I guess the agent was looking further down the line, or probably just at his own commission of what he's going to make. To me, it was a really dumb move because how were you not going to get caught? He's been in Atlanta so long, you know he's got friends there. I'm surprised it took him this long to find out.
And I happen to agree. And Stefan, I'm going to kick this one to
Holy
you next.
Shit, the hell just froze over. He agreed with me.
No, and I see what you're saying, Stefan. I'm going to kick this to you. I mean, obviously, you're going to be seeing this more from the player side than any of the rest of us. First of all, is this from your understanding something that does happen? And second, how would you have handled it in this situation?
Well, I've never heard of it happening, but I think I would have handled it the same way he did. I mean, I never signed anything with that much money involved, but I mean, the fact that he wants to stay in Atlanta or wanted to stay in Atlanta means everything. I mean, that changed his whole life around.
It did.
I don't
Especially
really blame him.
go to the fact that he doesn't seem like he's getting the greatest reception in LA either.
He does
From
not
players
seem
or
happy.
fans.
Yeah. Craig, what do you think, bud?
I agree. An example needs to be made. The trust has been broken, and he has to be an example of absolutely.
It's, in my understanding with the money implications, what this looks like to me. So I'm going to say it like that. Obviously, I didn't make it to that level. In an agent's percentage is on the overall value of the deal. So if his offer was, if the Braves offer was 162 and the Dodgers offer was 167, that's an extra $500,000 to the agent out of getting him to sign with the Dodgers. Now, does he potentially put his entire business at risk over $500,000, especially with the number of Major League Baseball athletes that they have through XL? I find it really, and this is where I struggle with this story, because I think it's an interesting story. But I'm gonna look at this. I mean, with Casey Close, they've got he's one of the more popular baseball agents. Excel Sports as a whole is. And Casey has said through his statements that they're evaluating legal options. They think that Doug Gottlieb was incorrect in saying that, and also now saying that the Braves are pushing a false narrative about that situation. He did, in an article that was posted on ESPN's website on the 30th of June. Close said that the way that the process worked. Let me see here. Let me get to where I saw this in the article. So in a phone conversation, Close told ESPN 3 previous offers, one toward the beginning of the 21 season, 2 in August, and the final one for 5 years and $135 million, were communicated formally via email. Close said the Braves never made a formal offer for Freeman, 32, during free agency, and that purported final offer for 5 years and $140 million was floated March 12th by Braves GM Alex Anthopoulos as a possibility. Close said he relayed the discussions about the potential offer to Freeman, but insisted it was not firm. So I have a feeling this is going to end up turning into a lot of he said, she said. And unless, and now Freeman was not the only baseball player to fire Casey Close this year. Trevor Story was the other one.
What was the reasoning there? Do we know?
Nothing was ever said that I could find. So I can't. I'm not gonna. Can't say anything there. And obviously, Trevor Story is a fantastic position in Boston. Changing positions, having a Gold Glove year at second base, and that's a big change going from short to second. A lot of people don't think about that. The ball comes at you differently, and he's still doing very well. So I don't know if maybe because I don't know, maybe Story's change wasn't just because of philosophical differences, or what that was, but it is worth noting that is the second player that Freddie was the second player to fire Casey Close this year. And the thing of it is, if anything can be proven, he should lose every client. Any negotiation that he was involved in would have to be completely evaluated. The MLBPA should be investigating at the very least to see where this is all coming from.
I need to respeak. Like, there needs to be proof, and I'm hoping maybe an organization like the Braves, they've got to keep track of every offer they make. So I'm hoping the Braves have paperwork saying we submitted this offer this date, and then there is no he said, she said. There's proof.
Right. And
there's definitely no she said.
he said.
Right. But there's a huge breach of trust between a player and an agent when something like that happens, because I mean, most of the time that player's gonna be like, I mean, there are players that, I mean, especially a guy like Freddie, be like, look, I'm gonna take the lesser offer, but I'll make it up to you out of my own pocket. Like that's the type of guy Freddie would be. And I'm not saying that would have been on the table, like I know Freddie personally, but Freddie seems like
see
the type
him
of guy
doing
that
that.
yeah, I could see him doing something like that. So it's a very difficult situation. There's a lot of speculation going on. I think the biggest tell is going to be what the response is as far as the MLBPA and if any other players fire Casey Close to the Excel Sports Agency as a whole.
If he has another player fire him within the next month, there needs to be a serious investigation.
Because of the way that the those contracts work, a lot of players will just when the contract is over end it. But I think
like I said a minute ago, players fire agents all the time. It happens.
Right.
But I think, I may be wrong, but I think an agent only gets a percentage of the amount he gets above what's already offered. So if LA offered him a amount and somebody else offered him 50,000 more, he would only get that percentage of that 50,000 extra he got.
Because I could see and I thought the way that it worked was it was a percentage of the deal and then possibly like as a commission a percentage of anything extra over and above the original offers.
That sounds right.
Which I mean, if their original, if the Braves' final offer before free agency was 140, and he got 167 from the Dodgers, that's still only 27 million that he's getting an extra kick off of, and it's usually 10%,
right?
15%, something like that. There's in the grand scheme of things, especially for those guys in the money that's at that level, I have a hard time thinking that he risked his entire business for what was probably around $500,000 at best.
Right.
And I'll give you that. I mean? I'll give you that, Kevin. Like, I hadn't thought of it like that, and that's a good point. Like,
and don't get me wrong, I've seen some stupid moves. There are actually Raiders fans that exist, but there's not enough evidence yet for me to buy in and say, yeah, he's, I'm not jumping in on social media court of guilty yet. I'm still waiting. I'm still on the fence juror in that situation.
Well, like we said earlier, to risk all of that for that amount, like in the level of money that he's involved in, that's probably a slow Tuesday for him.
What kind of year is he having in LA?
Freeman's not having a bad year.
It's not horrible. I think he's hitting like 270 for the year, something like that. It's not.
But it's also his first year, and like I just said, the reception from the
he's hitting 306. He's got an 886 OPS.
Why wouldn't he get a good reception from the fans?
It's been funny. Like, just he hasn't got a great reception. I saw a picture the other day of him in the dugout and every player up talking and him just sitting back. It just seems like he's not enjoying himself.
Now, that picture was in Atlanta. That and with how much he reportedly didn't want to leave Atlanta, that would probably be a pretty overwhelming thing. He never thought that he wouldn't play a home game in that stadium again. And that's what makes this more interesting is Freddie is very clearly unhappy with the fact that he's in LA. I think he really did want to stay in Atlanta. So it'll be interesting. While we're talking about Atlanta, I saw an interesting stat today. Ronald Acuna Jr., who is definitely doing well from injury. The Braves are actually only 16-18 without him this season with his injury because of the injury. But when he's played, they are 30-15, and he has hit he did hit 2 home runs today. Is there anything that the Braves can do to not be in that much of a bind if Acuna Jr. gets hurt again?
Who's the Braves' new first baseman?
Matt Olson, and picked him up. I think it was from the A's.
Yes.
And Matt Olson, to his credit, isn't having a bad year. He is only hitting 248, but his on base percentage is 343, slugging 467, 810 OPS.
He's a great player.
He's great defensively. He doesn't have the offensive value that Freddie has, but he's definitely good on the defensive side. One of the better defensive first basemen you'll see. Acuna's hitting 287. And obviously that's, especially for how young he is, because he's only 24. That's some pretty good numbers.
That's young.
Yeah, that's young. Craig, what do you think? Is there anything that the Braves can do to not have to rely so much on Acuna's bat?
I must confess, I'm not up on the Braves. I'm still very depressed over the Giants being swept by the White Sox. So,
well,
I'm not up on the Braves.
I guess the Braves can go for someone at the trade deadline.
I think they're going to be a team that, we're going to talk a little bit about who's buying and who's selling the trade deadline.
That was going to be my comment.
Sure. Yeah,
I think that's got to be their focus.
Yeah,
is trying to grab someone before the trade deadline, because they're not one of these teams that has multiple bats. And unfortunately, when you're one of those teams that teams to rely on 1, 2, 3 guys, when those guys go down, it really affects.
What about their farm system? Anybody that's on the come up there or down there?
Don't ask me about any minor league teams that aren't the Astros.
I'm not really sure what the state of their farm system is like. That's a good question.
Wait, are the Astros now a minor league team?
I knew that was coming.
Well, yeah, because of all the rules in the majors, they can't steal signs anymore, so they had to go back down to AAA so that they still have the distinctive.
Hey, they still can't. They're not stealing signs, but they're still one of the best teams in Major League Baseball right now.
They are. I mean, they're killing everybody.
They're 8. I was going to try and avoid this, but 8-2 in their last 10, and I think they went 8 straight. I believe.
And I think Verlander's on his way to another. I think Verlander's on his way to another Cy Young.
Absolutely, man. He's having in Verlander's numbers. Like I'm pulling this up because it is just stupid, and that's the only way to describe it. It's just stupid.
As a fan who wanted this, I wanted him to come back like this. But Seven has probably multiple of the recordings of me last season saying it would never happen because of his age and the injury he had.
He's 39 now, right?
Yeah, he's 39.
Crazy.
Tommy John's is a tough one to come back from. It's not an easy surgery to come back from. And the fact that he's having one of his best seasons of all time, I love it, but it blows me away.
Although I do have to say, many guys have had the Tommy John and come back throwing better and harder.
Yeah.
It was his age that really had a factor to me. It was the fact that he missed 2 seasons.
Right.
That's a long time for a guy at his age.
Yeah, you got to work really hard to come back.
I give his performance, and this season his pitching easily 4 trash cans up.
Count it.
But on that same note, the Astros pitching has been so fire lately. I swear the offense is getting jealous because the home runs they're hitting is insane. Like, I think yesterday's game, they won it 8-2. 5 of those were home runs off of each a different player.
I mean, on the offensive side, Altuve's hitting 280. Brantley's hitting 288. Yordan Alvarez is hitting 310. I mean, and those
3 guys hitting that.
I didn't see the play. I mean, it seems like, they have a great team. Imagine if Springer were still on that team.
See, that one hurts me more than Correa.
Right.
I think if we still had Springer, we'd have won last year. We'd have 2 rings right now, probably 3. We'd have probably won every one we lost.
calm down, Stretch Armstrong. You're getting a little out there.
You know what they say about if the Queen had something, she'd be king.
If the Bucks was candy and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas.
Yes. Exactly.
I mean, but Verlander, I mean, remarkable numbers. His ERA this year is only 2.03, and he has pitched 97.1 innings.
Is he winning the Cy Young this year? I'm not answering this question.
He's definitely on that track if everything holds well.
Well, who is there in the NL? I mean, DeGrom's not pitching, so he's out. I don't know of any other pitcher in the NL.
I mean, it's probably like you got, and that's our next thing we're talking about. So just kind of roll into that. DeGrom and Scherzer are both making progress. Scherzer should be back, I would think. I think if I remember correctly, timeline wise, he's going to be back next week or the week after. DeGrom has a rehab start scheduled for Thursday of next week, so we're 30 days out from him as well. And the Mets are right now one of the best, the best team in the National League,
and we just swept them. I'm just saying.
But the Braves are on their heels.
The Braves are on their heels, but they're doing everything that they're doing right now without Scherzer or DeGrom.
Plus, I mean, you got to love Buck Showalter. I love Buck Showalter.
I love Buck Showalter. He's great.
He's
an asshole, but he's great.
No, he's not an asshole. He's a great guy. He's one of the funniest guys I've ever met. He's a fantastic teammate.
The D-backs, the D-backs would not have been set up for their World Series run without Buck Showalter.
Right.
Mad respect for what he does. There's a lot of teams that would not be World Series champions without the work that Buck Showalter did.
Well, he had that thing where twice in a row he left a team, and the following team they won the World Series the following year.
Diamondbacks was one of them, and I think that the
Yankees.
Was it the Yankees that were the other one?
Yeah, they fired him, and the next year they won the World Series.
Some guys are just destined to be that guy. Yep. There are just some guys that are destined to be on the team that sets up for the championship team.
But I think that Showalter, it's always been just something that wasn't quite on for him to be able to close the deal and get that trophy. But when you look at, I mean, the Mets are setting themselves up in prime position to be dominant going into the All-Star break instead of fighting for first. Right. They're actually holding it well, and you're getting Scherzer and DeGrom back. So this really comes down to the question: when you look at it, the way that it looks right now, we're going to have one of three teams as the number one seed for the National League. It's either going to be the Mets, the Dodgers, or possibly the Braves. I'll give this one to you first, Craig. Who do you think is going to take it?
Well, I don't want them to, but the Dodgers.
It's a very bitter Giants fan that has to deal with the fact that the Dodgers are doing well and the Giants are not.
Yeah, the Dodgers are poised. I mean, they are.
Well, and we talked about it on the sports report too this week, Seven. Like, even though they're going through their normal slump, like the Dodgers do this every year, right around this time, right before the All-Star break. Their players get tired. They kind of go on a slump, and then they come back. But this is the thing. Yeah, will they probably win the NL? More than likely, because they had the last, 7 out of 10 years or something like that?
Sounds about right, yeah.
And they've won the wild card the 3 years they didn't. So, but out of those 10 years, how many championships have they won? One.
Yep.
In a shortened season.
In a shortened season. That's what gets me about the Dodgers is, don't get me wrong, pisses me off that the fact that the Astros have been to 5 World Series in the last 5 years and they've won, or 3 World Series in the last 5 years and they only won 1, and that one's tainted. Don't get me wrong. But if I were a Dodgers fan,
hey, who did the Astros beat in that tainted World Series?
Dodgers. But
so that was a tainted loss to the Dodgers.
They've had, out of their 10 tries, how many times have they made it to the series? 5, 6, and they've won 1 in a shortened season. If I'm a Dodgers fan, I'm getting frustrated with a winning team.
Well, I
because
think the
it's
same
never
thing's going to
close.
happen with the Yankees.
I mean, we talked about this last week on the Sports Report too. As far as the AL, I see no other teams but the Yankees and the Astros for the championship again. Which
Well, they
doesn't
said
make
that
me-
last year too, but it didn't happen. The Yankees didn't even make the playoffs.
Yeah, well, it wasn't
They
quite
have
the
a much
team
better
that we're
shot of
seeing this
making
year.
the playoffs this year than they did last year. That's the best.
Yeah, they
They're
do.
number
But
one in the AL, but I mean,
But-
they even got the Astros by 6 games.
well,
They're
they
the
were
number
number
one
one
team
in
in
the AL
baseball
last year too, and the Red Sox beat them in a 1-game playoff.
And that's something I brought up to you when you got on to me today, Seven, is your Sox. Like, yeah, they may not be doing great right now, but they're known to turn it on after the All-Star break and
It's
pull off that 1-game playoff against the Yankees to go all the way.
you see, but here's the thing. Because of the fact that I see where some of Boston's weaknesses are this year, I don't want it to come down to a 1-game playoff. I don't want that stress on my shoulders because
You're gonna have a heart attack.
I have enough issues with anxiety. I don't need more influences to make me more
Feel
anxious.
that.
No, Tony, I disagree. I think a 1-game playoff would be perfect because all you need is one great pitching outing, and that's what happened last year. I mean, Eovaldi had the great game against Cole, and he won that game. But if you have a 3 or 4-game series, your weaknesses are going to be exposed more. But in a 1-game series, you can just sweep those away. I mean, all you need is one good pitching performance.
Yeah, and the other thing that concerns me about Boston is 2 of their most important arms still are not vaccinated, which is a problem because
Especially like you said with Toronto coming up.
Right, because Boston has to play Toronto the second to last series of the year. Got 3 games in Toronto. You cannot, even as a professional baseball player, you cannot go to Toronto unless you are fully vaccinated. So it was why the Boston fan base was so mad at Tanner Houck because he is not vaccinated. Chris Sale would have also probably caught the flack of the loving and gentle Boston sports fan base had he not been out on injury because Chris Sale is not vaccinated either.
But I think that if it comes down to it, both Houck and Sale would get vaccinated next time they have to go to Toronto if a playoff berth is on the line.
Jared Durant said that he was going to get it before they have to go back to Toronto because he misses his players when really he doesn't want to have to face Boston fans on Twitter.
That would
tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong.
That
Absolutely.
that would be what would make me do what Stefan said. It is for the sheer fact of there's no other fan base. And honestly, Boston's like my number 2 team after the Astros. I've always been a fan. My dream stadium is to go sit in the Big Green Monster. Like that will be one of my biggest, happiest days ever. But Boston they're not, those fans don't put up with shit. Like they don't put up with
I can't wait to see how they treat Houck next time. What do they go to Fenway tomorrow?
His next outing, yeah. Hold on, let's see. Let me see if they've got him projected yet.
They get the Rays tomorrow.
Let's see.
Yeah, I think the fans are going to boo the hell out of him. I think they're just going to embarrass him.
I think that's and see, that's the other thing. Only fan base that will boo their own team.
No, Yankees will do it too.
Well, I mean, the Yankees are I'm sorry.
Phillies. Remember Phillies and Mike Schmidt?
Yep.
The Yankees fans are ugly, ugly people. And we had this conversation again. You scream "fuck Altuve" and he hits a first pitch home run. When if you hear him, he'd probably do nothing.
Was that whole thing last year with the radio thing in his T-shirt? What happened with that?
No, that was the same year. That was the 2017, but nothing ever, like they were never able to prove anything. So
it just looks weird.
it did. And
And his
But I
excuse is
also
bad.
understand in his culture and his wife, it could have been a whole thing. His wife didn't want him shirtless. Like I
Right.
do understand that. I know women like
It's
that.
there's a lot of different things. There's a lot of different things that could be. But the Altuve thing, like it does look a little weird.
It did.
I still love
And
the guy though.
Yeah, right.
That's the thing. You have, and we've said this too, Seven, is you have to move past it. Don't even, Dan, you go there. I'm going to start really fucking on Boston.
Wait, I'm
no,
a Red Sox fan too. So you got
Mr.
2-1.
Mr. Walmarts and trailer parks over here.
But no, it's going to be an interesting thing, especially I think we're going to see a big shift in standings after the All-Star break, and we typically do. I think that the Braves and the White Sox are honestly two teams that I think have the biggest shot at changing their spot and taking their division. The reason why I'm accepting that the Yankees will probably take the American League East is not just because of their lead, but also with the fact that we have these expanded wild card slots now. We have the extra slot for each side. What we're going to see is Boston knowing you just got to get a wild card slot.
Right.
So
And you might have 3 wild cards from the AL East.
I think, well, and that's the other thing. I was looking at the AL standings today. There's no one with over 50 wins except the Astros and the Yankees. And the Yankees, Boston is 13 and a half games out. And I realize we're only coming to the All-Star break. That is a feasible clinch, but still
they have the first wild card. They're in the first wild card right
exactly.
now.
Right,
They're gonna get that. If I'm Boston, I'm not thinking we need to catch the Yankees. I'm thinking we need to stay right here because we get that first wild card.
Right.
Because I just don't think catching the Yankees is possible at this point.
Well, and if the Yankees
unless
win
they
the
just implode.
If the Yankees win, if the Yankees finish the season with the best record in the American League, Boston's not going to be facing the Yankees in the wild card round.
That's true.
Right. They'll
be facing the Astros.
And which is a kryptonite for y'all in the playoffs.
It'll either be the Astros or Toronto, right?
I think they're both great teams, but I think as a Boston fan, I'd rather face Toronto.
Same. I would rather face Toronto if Houck and Sale get vaccinated. Jaron Duran's already said he's going to. But we've got to have Houck and Sale when we go back to Toronto because they have a very powerful lineup. This is not to knock Toronto at all. It's because I'm saying it's because we need to have our best pitchers when we get up.
Definitely.
I mean, you're going to have the looking like this could change because the AL Central is the one division that's kind of open, but it's looking like the Twins win that division.
Don't count on Cleveland.
I mean, Cleveland. Cleveland.
But here's the thing: is Cleveland has
second.
Cleveland is one of the other teams that I think could make a move.
Yeah. The thing is, they're only 2.5 games behind the Twins.
Mm-hmm. That division is going to be interesting because the Twins, the Guardians, formerly the Indians, and the White Sox are the 3 teams in that division that have a shot.
The White Sox could be leading the fucking division if they fired Tony La Russa.
I think of all 3 teams, I think Francona is the best manager.
Absolutely.
Between Russa and Baldelli and him, definitely Francona.
And I think that's one of the reasons why the Twins are producing the way that they are. I know Boston fans don't have the best point of view of Terry Francona, and I get it. I understand why. But he is doing really well right now. And
Boston fans love Terry Francona. Boston fans love Terry Francona.
I love Terry Francona, but there are some Boston fans I've seen, and it's partially because I spent some time on Twitter looking to see what the discussions look like, just to see what people are saying and see if there's
Oh,
anything
you
I'm
can't
missing.
do that.
and it's I have to be in a really good mood. Like I'll pop an extra Xanax before I go into that rabbit hole because otherwise I get super depressed. No, I'm kidding. Don't recreationally use anxiety drugs, kids.
I try to do that with a wrestling commentary, and like if I'm not like at the height of happy, it's not going to end well.
Yeah. Twitter is a cult. That's one thing that Letterkenny has taught me that I fully support. Okay, and then as we look at that discussion with the National League, we did also see Mookie Betts is back. As of today, he was on the 15-day injured list because of a fractured rib. And Austin Barnes, Clayton Kershaw's personal catcher, signed a 2-year extension through 2024 season. That was announced today as well.
I think Betts right now has to be the front runner in MVP. Don't you think?
I don't think there's anybody in the national on the Nat. Well,
I mean, maybe Bryce Harper if he'd have stayed healthy, but he doesn't seem to be able to do that.
Shohei, I mean,
Is he? How's he doing?
He's doing great.
He had a great month of June.
He's pitching great. He's hitting the hell out of the ball. He's pitching great.
He beat.
Is he not in the running for Cy Young this year?
I don't know that he'll
not
be in the
sure.
running for Cy Young, but he could still pull off another MVP.
I think Verlander's got the Cy Young.
Yeah.
I mean, he'll get some votes.
When we were talking about that, the only person that stood out in my mind that could take it from him would be Shohei, but I don't know the season he's having. So,
I mean, pitching wise, like the month of June was actually stellar for him. He had one game where he got 13 strikeouts, and that beats that was a career game. It's actually better than Craig's back. He had 13 strikeouts in the game, that beat Babe Ruth's career best. He also had an 8 RBI game the day before, beating Babe Ruth's career best on that by 1 as well. So, yeah, Shohei is moving very, very well. And I could definitely he still seems like the one. He still seems like one that could definitely hit that MVP, but
he's got to have a huge second half, though.
Absolutely.
I think Judge pretty much has that MVP locked up.
I did want to bring up, Seven. Did you see Jason Castro was placed on the IL for the Astros, and they brought up their first round 2019 pick, Corey Lee?
Did. Go ahead.
I mean, I love seeing Corey getting his shot, but no one's catching the ball except Martin Maldonado. That man has earned his place behind the base for the Astros.
Definitely.
Like I know he's not great at the bat. He's not. The thing about Maldonado is he's not great at the bat, but then one day he steps up and bangs 2-3 home runs out of nowhere.
Well, really good catchers don't have to be great at the bat.
And
I mean, that's just a plus.
You're totally right. Like that's where I think fans these days don't understand is not every player has to have a great bat. Some guys are just defensive guys, and they have to hit because they have to hit.
But if they hit, and then there's Yella, who's not good at anything.
But if they hit 240, if like he hits 240, that's a plus. The way he defends.
I think that's about where Maldonado sits usually is 240, 230. But he'll just have those games where I can't remember the series last year, but in the playoffs, he was the only one in one series that had any hits.
Yeah. He has some clutch appearances, and the difference between Maldonado is Maldonado can clutch, and he actually is very, very good at what he does behind the plate. Joey Gallo is just barely above average at his position and has gotten more strikeouts in the start of this season than Tony Gwynn had in the last 3 years of his career.
Yeah, but he's a Gold Glove caliber outfielder.
Exactly, and that's the difference. And we make fun of Joey Gallo a bunch because of the fact that he couldn't get his batting average above 250 with a tennis racket, but he's a great outfielder. But okay, so we did have something submitted. So we're going to take a brief break before we dive into the next topic. We had somebody that submitted, and they wanted you, Stefan, to take a look at a couple of things.
Okay.
To see if you could verify if this looked like. Does that look like your autograph, Stefan? Because it's supposed to be.
Yep.
It does, actually.
It is.
Okay. And then this is
The
another
fact that
picture.
Craig
right
knows
here.
that.
Well, I got Stefan a couple of his cards.
You did.
And
Yeah,
then I
eBay.
think we've seen this one before,
Yeah.
the National
Yeah.
Sounds card. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Dan Warner, the guy that co-hosts Sports Report After Dark with me, he actually he does a lot of card stuff, and he.
Do you have my big league card?
I know Craig has it. I think he grabbed your big league card. He said,
I gave it. Yeah, I sent it to you.
See, Dan. See, Stefan. It's legit.
It's legit.
Because that's
yes.
actually, I think Dan told me that's his job. He sells baseball cards, pro cards.
He does. Dan's actually, and he will just send me gifts. And I honestly think I figured out that it's just cards that he doesn't think he's going to make enough.
Yeah, he has never sent me an Astros card. What the fuck, Dan?
That's because you can't predict that they're coming. You won't hear the trash can bang when the mailman gets there. But this is definitely thanks to Dan. It's a medallion for my boy Mookie Betts. Nice little Tanner Houck card right here that I like. Oh, this will be somebody from back in the day. This is a jersey card of Rafael Palmeiros.
I did not do those PEDs.
I did. First, he had to learn to speak. First, he had to speak English.
I did not do. I'm not gonna rag on someone because of their accent.
No. In the testimony, him and Sosa forgot to speak English. They had people next to them translating basically what the senators and congressmen were asking. It was hilarious.
Yeah, but as soon as it was over, they spoke fluent English.
Oh yeah, it was a miracle. It was a miracle.
Oh man, I still do believe that they should get recognized. I understand you got to kind of wait it out, but they should both still be in the Hall of Fame.
Well, Stefan,
I don't think any of them should be in the Hall of Fame. You
don't think any of them should be?
Nope. I don't think Pete Rose, Clemens, McGuire, or Sosa. I don't think any of them should be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, in every clubhouse you go into, minor league and major league, there's a huge poster on the wall that says, "Gambling on any sport by any player is strictly forbidden and will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law." So he knew exactly what he was doing.
Oh, Pete Rose knew what he was doing, but he should still get in as a player. I'm not going to say anything recognizing any of his coaching skills because I've heard a lot of horror stories about him as a coach. But as a player, one of the best pure hitters in baseball history. He should get recognized.
Do they have a category for just as a player?
I was gonna
say, they do that all the time.
Really?
Yeah. There's guys that are just in as a player, even though they went to coach and never made it as a coach. Yeah.
I was gonna bring this up actually. I want this special. Dan and Stefan going at it on PEDs in baseball because Dan is a big believer in they should be allowed. That it makes excitement for the game.
Cheaters.
And here's the thing. And here is Dan's point. And again, I'm still no, there's no point. But Dan's point is this: there's obviously individuals, the steroid era. Aroyd himself is a prime example. He was getting his PED usage was all doctor monitored, no side effects, and he obviously was a Hall of Fame player without it. He was putting up decent numbers. But
a lot of those guys were Hall of Famers without it. Bonds, Clemens, they're all Hall of Famers before they were caught.
But you were, but everybody else was, so they had to, so that they could still be at their level, just in the new comparison. But if everybody's got access to it, all we're going to see is remarkable stats that we haven't seen before. We're going to see new play and different stuff, but the playing field's still level if everybody has access to the same stuff.
But, I refute that by just pointing out Ken Griffey Jr. I mean, I think, he didn't take any, and he was injured a lot, but I think if he had taken some, he would have recovered a lot quicker.
Junior would have been and Junior is a Hall of Famer,
right?
But had he been taking, he would have easily been on that level of Sosa and.
Oh, definitely.
Oh yeah.
Because I love Junior. I think Junior is what is everything that is right with baseball.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Absolutely. I mean, amazing player. He had a remarkable career. He and his dad both. His dad was a remarkable player too.
I played with his dad.
Father-son
I thought he would have been around that
tandem.
same time.
His dad was my right fielder.
So he caught all those. So he was the one chasing down all those home run balls you were giving up. Is that what it was?
Actually, I gave up a fly ball to center. Jerry Mumphrey was a center fielder. He had no clue. All of a sudden, I'm watching TV, and Griffey just came out of nowhere and just made a diving catch.
Well, and I just recently saw the video of Junior's first game where he picked off his dad.
Yep.
Just recently saw that video, and
That's
to
a
me
funny
was
video.
it's so funny, and it speaks to Junior in the fact of how just easygoing he is.
Yeah, he was very laid back and relaxing, man.
Well, I think he got that from his dad because his dad was the same way.
I could see that.
All right, so before we get to the end of our show this evening, there was one other topic we kind of alluded to earlier that I think is a great way to wrap things up. As we're starting to get closer to the All-Star break and the trade deadline, teams that we think are going to be buying and selling at the trade deadline. I will kick this part off. I know as I was watching the Red Sox and the Cubs today, Uke and Obi were talking about the fact that the Cubs will probably be one of the ones selling at the deadline, and they have a couple of bullpen pieces that might be on the table in Boston, maybe even looking at that, because that is probably Boston's biggest weakness right now is their bullpen, outside of the need to get a better first baseman. So I think, Boston's definitely going to be buying. Cubs are, with the way that they're going this year and the disappointing end that they've had, bullpen, Ian Happ could possibly be on the market. What do you guys think? Any other teams you think of that are going to be buying or selling? Craig?
Well, the Yankees are going to be buying because they always do.
Oh yeah.
They always look
every year. Like I was.
They just look
say,
to themselves.
Here, Stefan, I'll give you this question. Do you think the Yankees will try to move Joey Gallo at the deadline to get out from under his offense?
I really don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, but probably not. I mean, I don't know. Tough to tell.
What do you think, Craig?
Yes, they will try and move him. And yes, the A's are going to be sellers. Yes, your Diamondbacks are going to be sellers.
Oh, yeah.
I think all teams that are in the lead right now are going to be buyers, and teams that are out of it are going to be sellers.
I was going to say, I could see the Astros buying a couple of good. I don't know what they need right now, but just to hold, because like you said, Stefan, just to hold your position, you got to buy
right
before the trade deadline.
Yeah,
that guy Alvarez is incredible.
Oh my
Alvarez
God.
is amazing, remarkable athlete.
Me and Dan got into it this week because I compared him to Judge, and he's like, the fact that Jordan doesn't play a position makes Judge better, which I don't necessarily to agree with, but
you see, Dan is also a Cornhuskers fan, so his judgment cannot be trusted in any situation.
Does he know that Ortiz never played a position?
Got a point.
Well, no, Ortiz would play first base sometimes.
Occasionally, very occasionally.
Not very well, and only very occasionally.
Jordan plays the outfield. He'll play the outfield on occasion. But I mean, yeah, he's an amazing hitter. the Astros would not be competitive right now if it weren't for the numbers he's putting up, because he's had the best numbers all season for the team.
Right. So I think Toronto, Tampa Bay, and Boston will all be buyers. The Yankees probably, just because they're the Yankees, and whoever else is like within the Braves will be buyers. I think because they think they can win
Guaranteed
that.
there.
Yeah,
What's that?
the Braves for sure. So looking at that other division, look at the other two teams in that division that are going to be trying to contend, the Twins and the White Sox. Do you think the Twins are going to make what about those two? Do you think they'll try and make a push? Do you think they might try to unload a little bit and
The
focus
problem
on
with
next
the
year?
Twins is they're already I would think paying a lot of money out of their cap for Correa, because they're a
Yep.
small market team. They're not.
He only signed a 3-year deal. They're not going to.
It was only a 3-year deal, $150 million. It wasn't huge, but again, a small market team. Have the Twins ever been like super competitive to have that kind of money? No. And so I think and honestly, my opinion here is the White Sox can buy all they want until they get a better coach. They're not going to do shit. La Russa is not the La Russa of 15 years ago.
I think Casey Stengel's their next coach.
Oh,
that's a good pick for that. I like that.
And I understand why they don't want to let him go. They don't want a repeat of what happened last time. But again, La Russa is not what he was 15 years ago.
It's no, and he's not. And I think that's the thing is, and your next coach has to be younger. You don't see, like, if you look at coaching now
in sports numbers, Dan. In sports numbers, $50 million a year is not that big a deal.
And not in baseball. That's
not in baseball.
Not, in baseball.
Not when players are getting 250, 300 million.
Yeah, that he signed a small contract because he wanted to change agents. I know he's changing agency and he is not with Excel either side, but he
What are we talking about, La Russa?
No, Correa.
Oh,
Just because Dan brought up that 50 million isn't a big number, is a lot of money, but
for the Twins, it's a lot of money for them to put on a player. But the Twins are also already seeing a huge return on that, because if you peek in, like, for those of you that have MLB TV, if you peek in on a Twins home game, they are a lot more. Their stadium is a lot more packed at home games than it used to be. And so I think that they're
where stadiums don't get packed unless it's the playoffs.
Well, they had such a disappointing year last year. I think the fact that they're even close will make them try and make a push.
Well, and when have the Twins had anything to cheer for? Like, and I realize we've talked about this, Correa isn't having his greatest season because he's now having to be the guy instead of being one of the guys. He's the guy. And he's not pulling what he was doing in Houston, but he does give fans a reason to come out, and he's doing pretty well at home too. So
yeah, he's doing what they're paying him to do.
Yeah,
he's giving them their $50 million worth. And that's where it is. I think that the White Sox sell. And the reason why I say that is I think that the owner of the White Sox, it starts with an R. I can't remember what his name is. Like, I know it's not Ref Snyder, that's the Boston player, but Reinsdorf or Rabel Ruse or whatever the
I think it's Reinsdorf.
Yeah, something like that. The owner of the White Sox, and I think he's going to let Tony finish out the season because
Jerry Riesendorf.
Riesendorf, I was close. Yeah, he's also the owner of the Bulls. And he's sick of not having any championships since Jordan left. So, and I think that's why he brought Tony back, was because he was thinking that might happen. And it's not. So you let him finish out the season. You let him finish out the season. You start to get things ready for the next coach to come in and actually get them back atop the division where they belong. I think the White Sox sell at the deadline, and I think they ended up finishing third in their division.
So
And
you think at this point the White Sox are already saying, we're going to go ahead and let this season go, and
there's going to have to be a pretty
ready.
remarkable change between now and the All-Star break.
It would have to be them firing La Russa, and if they're not willing to do that till the end,
I've come to the point where I don't think Tony La Russa is getting fired until after the season.
And if I were La Russa, I just quit.
Oh no, really? No, he's still got to. If he stays, if they don't fire him, he just stays. It's a couple $1 million he's going to get. I mean, he can buy a lot of Cuban cigars and cocaine with that money if he wants to.
But I think they won't fire him just because everyone's gonna say, "I told you so."
Yeah.
I mean, he fired him once before. I think that was Isidor's problem. Is he fired him once before, and then Tony went on to win what 1, 2 series after that? Three.
1 with the A's, 2 with the Cardinals.
But again, that's not the same guy you were getting with the A's and the Cardinals. And the A's at that point were also implementing Moneyball.
I love Dan. La Russa's dick of the month. So for
La Russa's dick of the year.
We have on Sports Report on Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern on Pinfall channels. We do at the wrap up of our show. We do a Dick of the Week. My buddy Dan the Dick Warner is on that show as well, and that just became our thing. As we end by just making fun of the Dick of the Week.
Who's the biggest dick in sports of the week?
And Tony La Russa last year was quite frequently my go-to.
Tony La Russa and Stephen A. Smith hold the record for that award.
Yeah. Like I don't want to run into either one of them in public because if they ever find out how much I've labeled them as the Dick of the Week, they might beat me up, and I can't fight, so I'm just going to avoid them.
Well, they're both lizard people, so
yeah. Them and Skip Bayless. Okay. All right. So D-backs are obviously going to be selling. Nick Peralta, I think, is probably going to be one of the pieces that they move. I think they'll keep they'll keep Marte because he's kind of their franchise guy, kind of like the Royals holding on to Whit Merrifield. But I think the Royals could actually move on from Whit Merrifield too. So that piece will be interesting. And yes, Yankees, Sox, Tampa Bay, Toronto, they will all be buying at the deadline. The Orioles will be selling. Trey Mancini is going to get traded. Those of you that are fans of Trey Mancini, you are going to see him in a different uniform by the end of the deadline. I would love to see it in the Red Sox uniform, but honestly, I think he's going to go to the National League.
All right. So before we get out of here, on that note, who, if anybody, would be a huge surprise to you to see move before the deadline?
I will actually be shocked if Chicago moves Ian Happ. I know that he's been with the time that he's been there, he's a younger talent. They could get a decent return for him. Ian Happ has 2 businesses in downtown Chicago now. A shirt store that is very Cubs oriented, and a coffee company that has some decent coffee, by the way. Connect Roasters is pretty legit. I've gotten some coffee from there. But there are some insiders that are saying that there's already feelers out about the possibility of moving him.
Oh, Dan's got a prediction here.
Xander Bogaerts is getting traded to New York. No, that's. I would believe, Xander Bogaerts is getting traded to New York for Aaron Judge. That's how that's going to happen.
I actually think that Bogaerts is going to re-sign with the Red Sox.
Yeah, he'll re-sign. And my sign that Bogey is going to stay and that Boston's going to make it happen is purely because they refuse to put Trevor Story at shortstop.
Right.
Because, even today, Xander Bogaerts got hurt by somebody sliding into second base and got hit by a heel spike. And it was completely accidental. If you go back and watch the video, it wasn't a dirty slide. Even you said it on the broadcast. But when Trevor Story came out, because he was supposed to be off today, they moved Verdugo to short.
Not Verdugo. Arroyo.
Arroyo. They moved Arroyo to short and put Story to second.
Right. I think that's a good point that Bogarts might really appreciate that.
And I think that's why they're doing it. Is it's Story is having a Gold Glove year.
But Bogarts is a guy that, I mean, he could play his whole career with one team and be known forever for that. He'd be the most beloved guy in Boston.
He and Devers both. I think they're on the cusp. I think they both get long-term deals. But
you know they have the money. You know they have the money.
Oh, yeah, they do. What's up, Will? Will Morgan, host of Geek Gauntlet on Pinfall. He's a host of Sports Report on Monday nights, and it is also his 29th-ish birthday. It's more in his mid-40s, but we'll say 29th-ish to be close.
No, Will is turning 51 today.
Like I said, 29-ish.
I met him in person and made him show me his ID because I didn't believe it.
He does not look that old.
There's
really
no way.
The ageless wonder. I love it. Okay. All right. So, of course, as always, before we wrap up tonight, guys, any final thoughts? Stefan, we'll start with you.
I don't have any. I think we've covered everything.
Josie,
I'm not smart enough to have any final thoughts.
So, as of this week, all sports report shows are on Spotify. You can catch us on Spotify or anywhere you find your podcast. But the video versions, starting with this show tonight, will be available on Spotify. So go check us out.
What is the name of that podcast? The Sports Report?
It's all under the Sports Report.
Oh, okay.
I post every show. Every show goes up 9 a.m. the day following that it was live.
Are you the host?
No. Sports Report is hosted by Will. It's me. I produce it, but it's Seven, Will, Dan, and a buddy of ours named Gene.
Tony, is Will the guy that joined us at one time?
I think he did.
Yeah. I think he did too.
Will's been on here a couple of times.
Yeah, Will's been on with me a couple of times, at least once. And then of course, obviously, you can still catch the winter meetings. I still post on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. Again, 9 a.m. the next day.
Real quick, Mondays Sports Report, Tuesdays Sports Report Fight Night, where we talk about all things combat sports, wrestling, UFC. This week we're going to be talking about the Cowboy retiring from the UFC. Legend, future Hall of Famer, and all the things that went down in the wrestling world this week. And on Mondays, you also have After Dark with Dan and Seven, talking about the human side of sports. We talk about everything on that show. We spent 40 minutes on Roe v. Wade and how it affected sports this week.
Yeah, that was a fun convo. It was a good talk.
It was a great talk. And then, of course, you got the winter meetings every Sunday. And then probably starting in the next month or so, you'll get Dan the Dick Warner's Hardwood every week. So I know, I love it.
I know you did that intentionally, but no, we've got to work on that.
Wait, hang on. And
there we go. Okay. He's got his own thing. He'll be happy.
I finished it this week, and I have a version where I took out the Dan Warner, and it just says the hardwood with the dick. And he didn't like it because he said it sounded too much like a porno. I was like, that's perfect for you.
Brought to you by Cialis.
Brought to you by Cialis.
Oh, Alicia, yes. The dick has great wood.
Okay. So before we get fired and we get called into Pinfall HR, Craig, what about you, buddy? Any final thoughts?
You know what the scary part is? I am HR.
My standing dick of the year is gonna be Rob Manfred. That's just Rob Manfred.
Oh, he's won it several times too.
Yeah. He's I think I've given it to Stephen A. Smith a few times just because affirmative action, we gotta make sure we're meeting certain requirements.
Stephen A. just says so many dumb things.
So much dumb shit.
He does.
So much dumb shit. But okay. Yes, as they said, we have a great lineup of sports shows that air on the Pinfall Network, so definitely check all those out. My final thought is we are not going to see Kevin Durant in a Phoenix Suns uniform. So people need to get over it. It's not going to happen. But
KD is going to LA.
no, Kyrie's going to LA.
I think both of them are going to LA.
Not unless LeBron's going to Brooklyn. Yeah, not unless LeBron's going to Brooklyn. Because don't get me wrong, the Nets leadership has made some questionable choices, namely letting Kevin Durant dictate a bunch of things that they should not have.
Well, in drafting Harden in the first place.
But giving up KD and Kyrie to the Lakers and not ending up with LeBron, there's no way. No way it happens.
You don't think they'd settle for two instead of just LeBron?
No, and part of it is going to be cap room, and just kind of like Will said. Yeah.
Oh, damn it.
But yeah, just like Will said, Lakers don't have the cap room for both, but Kyrie will go to LA. That will happen because Kyrie needs LeBron and LeBron needs Kyrie so that they can both get another ring. Kyrie is LeBron's Pippen. That's what it is. I'll just say that. I'm triggering Dan right now, and he's going to call me after we're done and yell at me. But that's what it is. But all right.
This just in from the Warriors. Hold my beer, Lakers. Hold my beer.
I mean, I've already heard KD's going back to the Warriors. I've already heard
that. It's not going to happen. There's no...
I also heard that he's going to end up in Houston, which even as a Houston fan, I'm like, come on, guys. Y'all can do better than that. That's a bold-faced lie. No one wants to come to Houston right now.
No.
Well, yeah, no athletes want to go to Houston because none of the massage therapists are going to feel comfortable to trust them.
Honestly, I feel like Houston is playoff berth away from if they had a good veteran, because they do have a great young team, but the problem is they're young. If they could get a veteran like KD, it would at least get them playoff. But KD's wanting that ring; he don't want playoffs.
No. Yeah, that's not gonna. No, KD will end up in Miami. That's right. That's
Miami gonna end up with another 5-year dynasty that then implodes.
Yeah. But all right, okay. So we're gonna wrap this up because I know that Dan's getting ready to call me about my comments at the end here. If Katie goes to LA, a black hole will spiral the earth. And thank you for those of you that are watching for joining us. Don't forget, you can catch all previous episodes on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts by searching the Winter Meetings. Thank you to my co-hosts for joining me. Everybody have a great week, and thank you for joining us on the Winter Meetings.
Thanks, Tony.
Good night.
Have a good night, everybody.
Nice talking to you guys.
Where's the outro? Where did it go?
Oh, it's different now. I got it. Hang on. Oh, it's not on here. Damn it.
You are so fired.
Oh, that's nice.